Let's try an algebra problem that involves positive and negative decimals. It's really no different from an algebra problem that has whole numbers. The first thing I want to do is get my x term by itself. In order to do that, it's not by itself because it's being subtracted by 7.1. So I need to undo subtracting 7.1. So I'll use the inverse operation of subtraction, which is addition. I will add 7.1 to both sides. Now, remember that when I do this, I line up decimals to add and subtract them. But here, this number is a positive, and it's the larger one, so I'm going to do 7.1 minus 5.63, and then I'm going to come up with a positive answer because my largest absolute value is the positive one. So I will put, you could put a 0 in here if you need to, and this becomes a 0 because we're going to regroup, and I get 7. Now I have to regroup again, and I get 4, and this will be 1.47. Now I'm just going to write the 1.47 here because it's a positive. If I had known this answer would be a negative, I would have written my negative sign down here before I ever went over to this side to work on it, because it's really easy to accidentally drop that negative. So I'm going to rewrite my entire equation though, because x isn't equal to 1.47, negative 0.02x, negative 0.02x equals 1.47. Now, why is the x not by itself? Because it's being multiplied by negative 0.02. Be careful of that negative. If you divided it by 0.02 instead of negative 0.02, you would come up with negative x. So divide both sides by negative 0.02. Okay, now I'm going to have to go over on the side and solve this. And since I'm dealing with positive and negative numbers, I have two different signs. That means my answer is going to be negative. I always write my answer, my negative sign down that's going to be in my answer. I put that down before I go over here on the side to divide. Now, one thing that you need to be a little bit careful of is that sometimes people try to do an easy one like that in their heads and then mix up your decimals and get a decimal error. So a lot of times it's better to go ahead and write this out on the side. So I have to move my decimal, move it 2 places here too. 2 goes into 14 7 times, and then it goes into 7 3 times. Now, since I have a remainder here, I've been working in decimals, so I want to give my answer in decimals. I know I could say 1/2, but instead of doing that, I'm going to add a 0 here, add 0.0, and I'll bring down that 0, and my answer will be negative 73.5. Now we need to check this answer. So I write the original problem, negative 0.02x minus 7.1 equals negative 5.63. You might want to stop the video and see if you can check it yourself. Okay, I hope you did that yourself, and let's see what happens when we do it together. We're going to get negative 0.02 times negative 73.5 minus 7.1 equals negative 5.63. Now to check it, we want to do order of operations, so we'll do our multiplication first. Now, this is something you have to work out. You can't just say, oh yeah, that equals negative 5.63. Maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. So two negatives are going to make a positive, so I don't have to write anything down. If I were going to have a negative answer, I'd go ahead and write it down. So I'm going to do 73.5 times 0.02. You could always write it like this, but why make it look harder? I think this is an easier way to write it when you're multiplying. So we get 1470 because we multiplied it just like we do when we're multiplying something with no decimals, but I count up the digits, 1, 2, 3, 3 digits after the decimal, so I want 3 digits after the decimal in my answer. So I'm going to get 1.47 minus 7.1 equals negative 5.63. Now, when I do this one, my larger absolute value, the big one, not really, I say the big one, because it's not really always it's not really the biggest. Negative 7.1 is smaller than 1.47, but it has the biggest absolute value. It's the farthest from 0. So I'm going to use the sign of the larger absolute value. So I'm going to use the negative, and I'm putting that answer before I go over on the side to do my subtraction. 7.1 minus 1.47, fill in a 0 here. This is a 3, regroup again, 6, negative 5.63 equals negative 5.63, and my answer is correct.